Part 1. The stars looked different from the bridge of the Valiant. Commander Jake Morrison had seen them through telescopes his whole life, but now he was finally among them. For 70 years, humanity had been trapped behind an alien blockade. The Galactic Council had decided humans were too dangerous to join the rest of the galaxy. They called Earth a death world and said its people were violent predators who could never live peacefully with others. Jake looked at the holographic display in front of him. 50 warships floated in formation behind his vessel. Every single one had been built in secret, hidden in the shadow of Jupiter's massive moons. The aliens thought they had contained humanity, but they had only given them time to prepare. Lieutenant Amy Parker sat at the communication station. Her fingers moved across the controls as she monitored the alien frequencies. She was young, only 25, but she was the best communications officer in the fleet. She had learned 17 alien languages by listening to intercepted broadcasts. "Commander, the defense platforms are directly ahead," she said. "They're already scanning us," Jake nodded. The blockade was a ring of automated weapons platforms that surrounded the entire solar system. They had been there since before he was born. His grandfather used to tell stories about the day they appeared, how the whole world watched as humanity's dreams of exploring the stars were crushed. "All ships, battle stations," Jake ordered. His voice was calm, but his heart was racing. This was the moment humanity had been waiting for. "Helm, take us forward at half speed." The Valiant moved toward the blockade line. The other ships followed in perfect formation. They had practiced this maneuver 1,000 times in simulations. Now it was real. Warning signals came from the alien platforms. Automated voices spoke in multiple languages, all saying the same thing: "Turn back or be destroyed." The platforms powered up their weapons. Energy signatures spiked across every scanner on the bridge. "Shields to maximum," Jake said. "Point defense systems online." The first shots came seconds later. Beams of concentrated energy lanced out from the platforms, striking the Valiant's shields. The ship shuddered, but the shields held. Human engineers had spent decades studying alien technology from crashed probes and disabled satellites. They had learned how the shields worked and made them better. "Return fire," Jake commanded. "Target Platform 7 Alpha." The Valiant's main cannon was unlike anything the aliens had built. It used magnetic acceleration to fire solid projectiles at incredible speeds. The round left the barrel at a fraction of light speed. It hit the alien platform's shield and punched straight through. The platform exploded in a brilliant flash. All across the blockade line, human ships opened fire. The aliens had built these platforms to intimidate and contain, not to fight a real battle. Within minutes, dozens of platforms were destroyed. The humans lost no ships. Jake watched as the last platform in their sector exploded. 70 years of imprisonment ended in less than an hour. He felt a weight lift from his shoulders that he hadn't known he was. "Carrying. Send the message," he told. "Amy. Broadcast it on every channel." Amy nodded and opened a channel that would reach every alien receiver within 100 light years. Jake had written this message himself, editing it dozens of times. "To the Galactic Council and all species of the galaxy. This is Commander Jake Morrison of the Earth Defense Fleet. For 70 years you have kept humanity locked away from the stars. You judged us without knowing us. You feared us without meeting us. That ends today. We are coming out not as conquerors but as equals. We seek our place among the stars. We hope for peace, but we are prepared for whatever comes. The children of Earth are free." The message was simple, but Jake meant every word. He looked out at the empty space where the blockade had been. Beyond it lay everything humanity had dreamed of for generations. New worlds, new species, new knowledge. And danger too, he knew. The galaxy had feared humans for a reason, even if that reason was based on misunderstanding. "Set course for the nearest inhabited system," Jake ordered. "It's time we introduced ourselves properly." The Valiant turned away from Earth and headed into deep space. Behind it, 49 other ships followed. The human fleet was small compared to the forces the major galactic powers could field. But it was enough. It had to be enough. In the engine room, Chief Engineer Peter Hayes monitored the new fusion drives. They were running perfectly, pushing the ship faster than any alien vessel could match. Speed had always been humanity's advantage. Even on Earth, humans weren't the strongest or the toughest, but they could outlast almost anything. On the observation deck, a small group of civilians watched Earth shrink behind them. These were the diplomats, scientists, and cultural representatives who would help humanity integrate into galactic society. Among them was Dr. Laura Kim, an anthropologist who had studied every piece of alien culture humans had managed to intercept. "We're really doing this," she whispered to her colleague. "Professor Daniel Wright, we really are," Daniel replied. He was a linguist who had helped decode the alien languages. "I just hope we're ready." "We've had 70 years to prepare," Laura said. "If we're not ready now, we never will be." Back on Earth, millions of people watched the live feed from the Valiant. In homes and public squares, humans celebrated. Some cried tears of joy. Others worried about what would come next. But all of them felt the same thing: pride. After decades of being treated as prisoners in their own solar system, humanity was finally free. At Earth Defense Command, General Kevin Foster watched the tactical displays. He was responsible for the defense of Earth and the inner colonies. If this mission failed, if the aliens decided to retaliate, he would be the last line of defense. "All home fleet units at maximum readiness," he ordered. "I want every sensor focused on possible jump points. If anything comes through, I want to know about it immediately." His second-in-command, Colonel Lisa Grant, stood beside him. She was young for her rank, but her strategic mind was unmatched. She had planned much of the breakout operation. "Do you think they'll attack?" she asked. Kevin shook his head slowly. "I don't know. We shattered their blockade without losing a ship. That's going to make them think twice. But scared people do stupid things. We need to be ready for anything." Lisa nodded. She pulled up a star map showing the locations of known alien fleets. "If they do come, we'll be ready. Earth isn't the same world they quarantined 70 years ago." Meanwhile, the Valiant continued deeper into space. The crew was excited but focused. They knew they were making history. Every person on board had trained their whole lives for this mission. They were the first humans to leave the solar system since the blockade went up. Jake stood on the bridge and looked at his crew. They were good people, brave people. They deserved this chance as much as anyone. Humanity deserved this chance. "Amy, start recording a log entry," he said. "Recording." "Sir," she replied. "This is Commander Jake Morrison, commanding officer of the Valiant on the day we broke free from the blockade. We don't know what's waiting for us out here. The galaxy has feared us for a long time. Now they're going to meet us, and we're going to show them that humans are more than the violent predators they think we are. We're explorers, dreamers, survivors. We're the children of a death world, and we're coming home to the stars." He ended the recording and smiled. Whatever came next, humanity would face it together. The Valiant flew on into the darkness, and behind it, the rest of humanity's fleet followed like a chain of bright stars bringing light to the void. Part 2. The emergency session of the Galactic Council began within hours of the blockade's destruction. Representatives from 40 different species gathered in the Grand Chamber on Kelmar Prime, a neutral world chosen centuries ago as the seat of galactic government. The chamber was enormous, built to hold thousands, with each species having their own environmental section. Ambassador Trell of the Vaxian Consortium was one of the first to speak. He had 4 arms that gestured wildly as he talked, and his blue skin had turned darker with stress. The Vaxians had been the strongest supporters of the human quarantine from the beginning. "This is exactly what we warned you about," Trell said, his voice echoing through the chamber. "The humans have broken free, and they did it with ease. Our blockade, which cost billions to build and maintain, was destroyed in less than an hour. They didn't even lose a single ship." Elder Mora of the Zenith species floated in her environmental tank. The Zenith were peaceful beings made of energy and light. They rarely spoke in council sessions, preferring to listen and meditate. But now Mora's voice carried through the chamber. "Perhaps we made a mistake 70 years ago," she said softly. "We imprisoned an entire species without ever speaking to them. Without ever giving them a chance to prove themselves." "A chance?" Trell's voice rose higher. "They come from a death world. Do you understand what that means? Their planet has extreme temperatures, violent weather, dangerous predators, and diseases that would kill most of us in hours. The humans evolved in constant danger. They are predators, warriors by nature. How can we trust them?" High Chancellor Vorn, the leader of the council, raised one of his tentacles for silence. Vorn was a Kelmarian, a species that looked like floating jellyfish with bioluminescent patterns across their bodies. He had led the council for 30 years and was known for being cautious and fair. "The question before us is simple," Vorn said. "Do we attempt to restore the blockade knowing it may fail again? Do we launch a military response against the humans? Or do we try to communicate with them?" "Military response?" Commander Sark of the Unified Defense Force stood up. He was reptilian with golden eyes and scales that reflected the chamber's lights. I've reviewed the tactical data from the blockade. Their weapons technology is at least equal to ours, possibly superior. Their ships are faster, and their tactics. They fight like nothing we've ever seen. Aggressive, efficient, unpredictable. Then what do you suggest? Trell demanded. We just let them fly wherever they want? I suggest we remember that we are supposed to be civilized, Sark replied. We talk first. We shoot later if necessary. While the council debated, Colonel Lisa Grant sat in Earth Defense Command, monitoring every communication channel she could access. Humanity had spent decades building a sophisticated intelligence network. They had hacked into alien communication satellites, decoded their transmissions, and learned everything they could about galactic politics. What are they saying? Asked Captain Ryan Cooper, her deputy. He stood behind her, watching the streams of data flowing across multiple screens. They're scared, Lisa said. Really scared. Some want to attack us immediately. Others want to try diplomacy. But they're all afraid of what we represent. And what do we represent? Ryan asked. Lisa pulled up a document on her main screen. It was an alien anthropological study of humanity, one they had intercepted years ago. According to this, we represent chaos. Most species in the galaxy evolved on relatively peaceful worlds. Mild climates, few natural predators, abundant resources. Their evolution was slow and steady. But Earth? She shook her head. Earth tried to kill our ancestors every single day. Ice ages, volcanoes, diseases, predators. We survived by being adaptable, aggressive, and creative. So they think we're monsters, Ryan said. They think we're dangerous, Lisa corrected. And they're not entirely wrong. Humans have been fighting wars for our entire history. We've built weapons capable of destroying our own planet, but they don't understand that we've also built art, music, philosophy, and ethics. They only see the violence. Ryan looked at the tactical display showing various alien fleet movements. Some of these fleets are moving toward the border worlds. They're preparing for war. Then we need to make sure Jake's mission succeeds, Lisa said, because if it doesn't, we're going to be fighting the entire galaxy. On a small independent trading station called Port Haven, a human woman named Helen Brooks watched the news feeds with interest. She had been living in alien space for 10 years, having escaped Earth through smuggling routes that the authorities didn't know existed. She ran a small trading ship and had built a quiet life for herself among the aliens. Helen wasn't the only human outside the blockade. There were about 200 others scattered across the outer colonies, all of them living carefully, pretending to be from other species when necessary. They had learned alien languages, customs, and ways of hiding in plain sight. This is going to change everything, said Marcus Flynn, another human trader who had joined Helen at the station. He was older, in his 50s, with gray hair and the weathered look of someone who had spent years in space. The question is whether it changes things for better or worse, Helen replied. She was watching a news broadcast from the Council Worlds. The reporter was discussing the human breakout with barely concealed fear. We should contact Morrison, Marcus said. Let him know we're out here. We could help, Helen nodded slowly. We could also paint targets on our backs. A lot of aliens think we've been lying to them. They're not going to be happy when they find out humans have been living among them all this time. But we've proven we can coexist peacefully, Marcus argued. We're living evidence that humans aren't the monsters they think we are. Or we're examples of how sneaky and deceptive humans can be, Helen countered. Perspective matters, she made a decision. Contact the Valiant. Tell them who we are and where we are. Morrison should know he's got friends out here, even if we're not exactly official. Back on Kelmar Prime, the council session continued. Various species presented their views on the human situation. The debate went in circles, with no clear consensus emerging. Finally, Ambassador Kira of the Stellar Federation stood to speak. The Stellar Federation was one of the oldest civilizations in the galaxy, and their word carried weight. Kira herself was impressive, with silver skin and eyes that seemed to hold entire galaxies. I am old enough to remember the age of conflict, Kira said, her voice silencing the chamber. Before this council existed, before peace was assumed, our ancestors fought for survival. They made alliances, built armies, and defended their homes against real threats. We have grown soft in our peace. We have forgotten that the galaxy is not always kind. What are you saying? Thorne asked. I am saying that maybe we need the humans, Kira replied. Yes, they are aggressive, Yes, they come from a death world. But look at the reports. The Kreelan Empire has expanded by 7 systems in the last 20 years. The Void Marauders raid our shipping lanes with impunity, and there are rumors of something worse coming from the Galactic Rim. We are not prepared for real threats anymore. So we should trust the humans to protect us? Trell said sarcastically. That's like hiring predators to guard prey. No, Kira said firmly. It's like recognizing that sometimes you need someone who knows how to fight. The humans aren't asking to rule us. They're asking to join us. I propose we give them that chance. And if they prove dangerous? Another ambassador asked. Then we deal with it, Kira said. But I suspect we will find them to be valuable allies rather than enemies. The debate continued for hours more, but Kira's words had impact. Slowly, opinion began to shift. Not everyone was convinced, but enough were willing to consider the possibility that humanity might be given a chance. Finally, Vorn called for a vote. The measure was simple. Invite the humans to send a representative to the council for a formal first contact. If that went well, consider provisional membership. If it went badly, consider other options. The vote was close, but it passed. Humanity would get their chance to speak before the galaxy. Vorn ordered a message sent to the approaching human fleet. An invitation to Kelmar Prime for diplomatic talks. No promises, no guarantees, just an opportunity to be heard. When the message reached the Valiant, Jake read it carefully. It was formal, cautious, but it was what he had hoped for. A chance to talk rather than fight. Send our acceptance, he told Amy. Tell them we're coming in peace, but we're coming armed. We won't start a fight, but we'll finish one if we have to. That's pretty direct, Amy said. They need to understand who they're dealing with, Jake replied. We're not going to pretend to be something we're not. We're humans. We're tough, we're stubborn, and we don't give up. But we can also be reasonable. They'll see that when they meet us. The Valiant changed course for Kelmar Prime. Behind it, the human fleet followed. They were going to meet the Galactic Council face to face. The galaxy was about to get its first real look at humanity, and humanity was about to discover what lay beyond the stars they had watched for so long. Part 3. The Valiant approached Taris 3 with caution. The planet was a major trading hub, sitting at the crossroads of several important space routes. Jake had decided to stop here before going to Kelmar Prime. He wanted to see how ordinary aliens would react to humans before facing the Galactic Council. 20 alien warships waited in orbit. They represented 5 different species, all part of the Unified Defense Force. Their weapons were powered up, but they hadn't opened fire yet. Jake took that as a good sign. Open a channel, he ordered Amy. The face that appeared on the main screen was reptilian with golden eyes. Commander Sark looked nervous despite his attempt to appear threatening. Jake recognized him from the intelligence files. Sark was known as a cautious officer, not particularly aggressive. I am Fleet Commander Sark, the alien said. You will turn back immediately or face destruction. Jake kept his expression neutral. Commander Sark, I am Jake Morrison of the Earth Defense Fleet. We received an invitation from the Galactic Council. We're on our way to Kelmar Prime for diplomatic talks. We have no intention of causing trouble here. The Council's invitation does not give you permission to enter our space without authorization, Sark replied, though his voice wavered slightly. Then we're asking for authorization, Jake said calmly. We'd like to stop at Taris 3 for supplies and to allow our crew some rest. We're willing to pay for everything we need. We just want to be good neighbors. Sark seemed uncertain. His eyes moved off-screen, probably looking at something or someone Jake couldn't see. The alien commander was clearly receiving advice from others. We outnumber you 2 to 1, Sark finally said. If you attempt anything hostile, we will destroy you. Jake almost smiled but controlled it. The alien still didn't understand. Numbers hadn't been the deciding factor in human warfare for centuries. Tactics, technology, and training mattered more. But he wasn't here to fight. We understand, Commander. We're not looking for a fight. We just want to talk and trade. Before Sark could respond, a smaller ship broke formation from the alien fleet. It was painted with markings Jake didn't recognize. The ship moved between the 2 fleets and opened a communication channel. This is Captain Helen Brooks of the independent trader Wanderer, a human voice said. Jake sat up straight in his chair. A human ship out here? I'm broadcasting to both fleets, Helen continued. Commander Sark, you know me. I've been trading in this sector for 8 years. These are my people. They're not monsters and they're not here to hurt anyone. Sark's image showed confusion and growing anger. You told me you were from Rigel 4. You showed me identification documents. I showed you documents that said I had permission to trade from Rigel 4, Helen corrected. I never claimed to be Rigelian. You assumed that because I didn't correct you. Look, I've been living and working among you all for years. Have I ever caused problems? Have I ever been violent or dangerous? You lied, Sark said. I survived, Helen replied. My people were locked away from the galaxy. Some of us found ways out. We've been living quietly, trading honestly, causing no trouble. We're proof that humans can coexist peacefully with other species. Jake made a quick decision. Commander Sark, Captain Brooks, I suggest we all meet face to face. On Terrace 3 in a neutral location. Let's talk this through like civilized beings. Sark was silent for a long moment. Jake could almost see the calculations running through the alien's mind. Finally, Sark nodded slowly, agreed. But you will bring only a small escort. Any sign of treachery and my fleet will open fire. Fair enough, Jake said. We'll take a shuttle down. 6 people, all unarmed. You have my word as an officer. 3 hours later, Jake found himself in a conference room in one of Terrace 3's largest trading stations. The room was designed to accommodate multiple species, with different environmental controls for different sections. Jake had brought Amy, Ryan, and 3 security officers, who had left their weapons on the shuttle as promised. Sark arrived with his own escort, 5 officers from different species. And Helen Brooks was there too, looking oddly out of place and perfectly comfortable at the same time. She was younger than Jake had expected, probably in her early 30s with dark hair and sharp eyes. So, Helen said once everyone was seated, this is awkward. Despite the tension, several people in the room made sounds that might have been laughter. Jake found himself liking this woman immediately. Let me start, Jake said. Commander Sark, I understand your concern. We're an unknown factor. We broke through your blockade and that scared people. But we're not here to conquer or destroy. We're here because we believe we have a right to exist among the stars like everyone else. Your world is classified as a death world, Sark said. Only 3 other species in known space come from such hostile environments. All of them are considered dangerous. Dangerous doesn't mean evil, Helen interjected. I've been living out here for 10 years. How many people have I hurt? How many times have I broken the law? Sark looked uncomfortable. Your records show no violations, but you deceived us about your species. Because I knew how you'd react if you found out the truth, Helen said. You'd have arrested me or sent me back to Earth. I've proven that humans can follow your laws, respect your customs, and live peacefully. There are about 200 of us scattered across the outer colonies. We're all proof that your fears are exaggerated. Ryan spoke up. Commander, with respect, you don't know humans at all. You've only heard stories and theories. We're not mindless predators. Yes, we come from a tough world. Yes, we've fought wars. But we've also created art, music, and philosophy. We have families, friends, dreams. We're people just like you. One of Sark's officers, a being that looked like a walking plant, spoke in a soft voice. But you destroyed the blockade so easily. That shows military capability far beyond what we expected. We had 70 years to study your technology, Jake admitted. We learned, we adapted, we improved. That's what humans do. We're good at solving problems, especially when our survival depends on it. But that same adaptability means we can also be good at peace, good at cooperation, good at being part of a larger community. Sark leaned back in his chair. The council is divided on what to do about your species. Some want to try to force you back into quarantine. Others want to give you a chance. I don't know which side is right. Then help us prove it, Jake said. Let us stop here for a few days. Let your people meet our people. See for yourselves that we're not monsters. We'll trade fairly, follow your laws, and respect your customs. If we cause any problems, you can report that to the council. But if we don't, maybe you can tell them that too. Helen nodded. I'll vouch for them. I know that doesn't mean much since I've been hiding my identity. But for what it's worth, these are good people. They're just trying to find their place in the galaxy. Sark was quiet for a long time. His golden eyes moved from person to person, studying them. Finally, he made a decision. 3 days, he said. You can dock at the station and send small groups down to the planet. But you must follow all local laws. Any violations and you leave immediately. And my ships will be watching constantly. Jake stood and extended his hand. After a moment's hesitation, Sark reached out with his clawed hand and shook it. The gesture was clumsy, neither species being familiar with the other's customs. But it was a start. Over the next 3 days, small groups of humans explored Terrace 3. The crew of the Valiant walked through alien markets, tried strange foods, and attempted to communicate with species they had only seen in transmissions before. Some aliens were curious, others were frightened, but most were just cautious. Dr. Laura Kim spent hours in the planet's cultural center, talking with alien scholars about human history and culture. She showed them Earth music, explained human art, and tried to help them understand that humans were more than warriors. Chief Engineer Peter Hayes worked with alien engineers at the station's repair facilities. They exchanged technical knowledge and found that humans had solutions to problems that had puzzled aliens for years. In return, the aliens showed the humans techniques that Earth's engineers had never considered. By the 3rd day, something had changed. The aliens weren't as scared anymore. They had met humans face to face and found them to be strange but not monstrous, different but not dangerous, at least not unprovoked. Sark met with Jake one final time before the Valiant left orbit. "I will send a report to the Council," the alien commander said. "I will tell them what I observed. Your people followed all laws, respected all customs, and caused no problems. I will also tell them that I believe you deserve a chance to prove yourselves." "Thank you, Commander," Jake said sincerely. "That means a lot." "Don't make me regret this," Sark warned. "The galaxy is watching you now. Every human action will be judged. Every mistake will be magnified. You must be perfect." "We're not perfect," Jake admitted. "We're just people, but we'll do our best. That's all anyone can ask." As the Valiant left orbit heading toward Kelmar Prime and the Galactic Council, Jake felt more confident. They had passed their first real test. The aliens had met humans and survived the experience. Now came the harder part, convincing the entire council that humanity deserved a place among the stars. Part 4. The Galactic Council chamber was designed to intimidate. Jake stood in the center of a massive circular room with seating rising up on all sides. Hundreds of aliens looked down at him, representing dozens of species from across the galaxy. The architecture made the speaker feel small and exposed. But Jake had commanded warships through combat. He wasn't easily intimidated. He wore his dress uniform dark blue with silver insignia showing his rank and service. Behind him stood Amy and Dr. Laura Kim, who would help with communication and cultural matters. The rest of his crew waited on the Valiant, which was docked at one of Kelmar Prime's orbital stations under heavy guard. High Chancellor Vorn floated in the highest seat, his bioluminescent patterns pulsing slowly. "Commander Jake Morrison of Earth, you stand before the Galactic Council. You and your species have been summoned to answer for violations of the quarantine that was legally imposed 70 years ago." Jake kept his voice steady and clear. "With respect, Chancellor, a law made without the consent of those it governs is not a just law. Humanity was never given a voice in the decision to quarantine our world. We were judged without being heard." Ambassador Trell stood up, his forearms gesturing sharply. "You were judged based on factual analysis. Your world is a death world. Your species evolved as apex predators. You have a documented history of warfare spanning thousands of years. You have developed weapons capable of destroying your own planet. These are facts, not prejudice." "They are facts," Jake agreed, surprising many in the chamber. "We do come from a harsh world. We have fought wars. We have created terrible weapons. But those facts don't tell the whole story. They don't tell you about our art, our music, our literature. They don't tell you about human compassion, sacrifice, or love. You judged us only by our capacity for violence and ignored everything else that makes us human." Elder Mora's gentle voice filled the chamber. "Some of us argued against the quarantine. We believed every species deserved a chance to prove themselves. But we were outvoted by those who feared what humanity might become. And look what happened," Trell said angrily. "They became exactly what we feared. They built warships. They developed advanced weapons. They destroyed our blockade. They proved we were right to contain them." Jake shook his head. "You made us build those ships. What would you have done if someone locked you in a cage for 70 years? Would you have accepted it quietly? We did what any intelligent species would do. We prepared for the day we could free ourselves. But we didn't attack your worlds. We didn't declare war. We asked for a chance to talk." Dr. Laura Kim stepped forward. "If I may speak, Chancellor, I've studied every piece of information we could gather about galactic civilization. Your history shows centuries of peace, but that peace was built on the ruins of an age of conflict. Every species represented here has a history of warfare. The difference is that you had time to grow beyond it before meeting each other. Humanity never got that chance. An interesting point, said Ambassador Kira, standing from her seat. The silver-skinned diplomat had been watching quietly until now. Tell me, Commander Morrison, what does humanity want from us? We want what everyone wants, Jake replied. A chance to exist. To trade, to learn, to grow. We want our children to see other worlds. We want to contribute to galactic society. We want to be part of something bigger than ourselves. And if we refuse? Trell asked. If we vote to restore the quarantine? Jake met his eyes steadily. Then you'll have to enforce it. And I'll tell you now, that blockade won't work again. We know how to defeat it. You'd have to send ships, living beings, to keep us contained. Are you prepared to do that? Are you prepared to make your people into jailers? The chamber erupted in discussion. Various species argued among themselves. Some demanded humanity be forced back into quarantine. Others suggested compromise. A few even advocated for humanity's immediate acceptance into galactic society. Vorn raised a tentacle for silence. Commander Morrison, you claim your species can coexist peacefully with others. Yet you come here with a fleet of warships. You destroyed our blockade with minimal effort. You speak of peace while demonstrating military power. How are we to trust you? Because we're being honest, Jake said. We could have come here pretending to be peaceful and hiding our strength. Instead, we're showing you exactly what we are. Yes, we're strong. Yes, we're capable of fighting. But we're also capable of restraint. We haven't attacked anyone. We haven't threatened anyone. We destroyed the blockade because it was keeping us imprisoned, but we haven't fired a shot at any living being. Ryan, who had been standing quietly behind Jake, spoke up. The galaxy is facing real threats, isn't it? The Kraylan Empire, the Void Marauders, and rumors of something worse from the Galactic Rim. You're not prepared for those threats anymore. You've been at peace so long that you've forgotten how to fight. And you think humanity can help with that? Sark asked. He had been invited to testify about his encounter with the humans at Terrace 3. You want us to unleash a predator species to fight our enemies? We want you to accept an ally, Jake corrected. Not unleash a weapon. We're offering partnership, not servitude. We'll help defend this civilization. But we also want to be part of it. We want our scientists working with yours. We want our traders in your markets. We want our children growing up knowing they're part of a galactic community. Kira stood again. I have a proposal. Give humanity a trial period. Allow them to establish an embassy here on Kelmar Prime. Let them engage in limited trade with interested parties. Monitor their behavior closely. If, after 5 standard cycles, they have proven themselves to be a threat, we can revisit the quarantine. But I believe we will find them to be valuable members of our community. 5 cycles is a long time to be wrong, Trell said. It's a short time to judge an entire species, Kira replied. And it's better than the alternative. If we try to force them back into quarantine, we risk war. A war that we may not win, based on what we've seen of their military capability. This way gives us a chance for peace while keeping safeguards in place. Vorn considered the proposal. What say you to this, Commander Morrison? Would humanity accept a trial period with restrictions? Jake wanted to say no. He wanted to demand full acceptance immediately, but he understood politics and compromise. We would accept those terms with one condition. Any restrictions placed on humanity must be based on actual behavior, not prejudice. Judge us by our actions, not your fears. That seems fair, Vorn said. He looked around the chamber. We will vote on Ambassador Kira's proposal. All in favor of granting humanity a 5-cycle trial period with provisional membership status? The vote took nearly an hour. Representatives conferred with their governments, debated among themselves, and weighed the risks. Finally, the results came in. The proposal passed by a narrow margin. Humanity would get its chance, but Vorn wasn't finished. There are conditions, Commander Morrison. First, your fleet will be limited in size and deployment. No more than 100 vessels, and they must remain in designated areas unless responding to specific threats approved by the Council. Jake nodded. That was restrictive but workable. Second, any human colony or settlement must be registered with the Council. No secret bases or hidden facilities. Again, Jake agreed. They had nothing to hide. Third, humanity must accept observers from the Council who will monitor your compliance with galactic law. They will have unrestricted access to your facilities and records. Jake hesitated. That felt like a violation of privacy, but he understood why they wanted it. Agreed with the condition that these observers respect basic privacy rights for individual humans. Monitor our government and military, but leave ordinary citizens alone. Acceptable, Vorn said. And finally, if at any point during the trial period humanity violates galactic law or commits acts of aggression, this agreement becomes void. You will be given one warning and one warning only. We understand, Jake said. We won't give you a reason to regret this decision. The council session ended and Jake was escorted from the chamber. Outside, Amy and Laura looked relieved. We did it, Amy said quietly. We're actually in. Provisionally, Laura reminded her. We're on probation. Every human action for the next 5 years will be scrutinized. Then we better make sure we're perfect, Jake said. Though he knew perfection was impossible. Humans were flawed beings. They would make mistakes. The question was whether the galaxy would give them a chance to learn from those mistakes or use them as an excuse to lock humanity away again. As they walked back toward their shuttle, Jake noticed various aliens watching them. Some looked curious, others fearful, a few even hostile. But they were looking at humans as individuals now, not just as an abstract threat. That evening, Jake sent a message back to Earth. It was brief and to the point. We have provisional acceptance. 5-year trial period with restrictions. Begin preparation for establishing official relations with galactic civilization. We're finally part of the galaxy. On Earth, people celebrated in the streets. It wasn't full acceptance, but it was more than they had dared hope for. After 70 years of isolation, humanity had earned a chance to prove themselves among the stars. Part 5. 6 months passed quickly. Humanity worked hard to prove themselves worthy of the galaxy's trust. Human embassies opened on a dozen worlds. Human traders began moving through established space routes. Human scientists collaborated with alien researchers on projects ranging from medical research to stellar mapping. But not everyone was happy with humanity's integration. The Kralin Empire, a militaristic civilization that had been expanding aggressively for decades, saw humanity as both a threat and an opportunity. They had been testing the Galactic Council's resolve for years, pushing boundaries and taking territory whenever they thought they could get away with it. Colonel Lisa Grant had been promoted and now ran all of Earth's intelligence operations. She sat in her office at Earth Defense Command, reviewing the latest reports from their network of informants and monitoring stations. What she saw worried her. The Kralin are massing forces near the Meridian system, she told General Kevin Foster, who had come to review her findings. It's more than just border patrols. This looks like an invasion fleet. Kevin studied the tactical display. Meridian 5 is a council world. They wouldn't dare attack it directly. That would be open war. I think that's exactly what they're planning, Lisa said. They've been watching how the council handled the human situation. They saw division, hesitation, and fear. They think the council is weak. Have you reported this to the council? Kevin asked. 3 times, Lisa replied with frustration. They keep telling me they're monitoring the situation. They think the Kralin are just posturing that they'll back down like they always have before. But you don't think so? No, I don't. The Kralin have never massed this many ships before. They're planning something big and they're going to do it soon. Kevin made a decision. Get me a secure line to Commander Morrison. If the council won't listen, maybe we need to be ready to act on our own. On the Valiant, Jake received the encrypted message from Earth Defense Command. He read it carefully, then called his senior officers to the briefing room. The ship was currently stationed near the human embassy on Kelmar Prime, along with 20 other vessels from the human fleet. The Kralin are preparing to attack Meridian 5, Jake told his officers, showing them the intelligence data. Earth Command estimates they'll move within the next 48 hours. Have you informed the council? Ryan asked. He was now Jake's executive officer, promoted after 6 months of successful diplomatic missions. Earth Command has tried multiple times. The council doesn't believe the threat is real. They think it's just routine border tensions. Amy shook her head. That's a lot of ships for routine tensions. If the Kralin attack and the council isn't ready, it's going to be a massacre. Which puts us in a difficult position, Jake said. Our agreement with the council limits where we can deploy our ships. If we move to defend Meridian 5 without authorization, we could be violating our trial period. But if we do nothing and the Kralin attack, hundreds of thousands of people could die. Chief Engineer Peter Hayes spoke up. What does our agreement actually say? Exactly. Jake pulled up the document on his tablet. Our fleet must remain in designated areas unless responding to specific threats approved by the Council. So we need Council approval, Peter said. But what if we were already in the area when the attack happened? What if we were on a routine patrol that just happened to be near Meridian 5? Jake smiled slightly. That's a creative interpretation of the rules. It's what humans do, Ryan said. Find the loopholes and use them. All right, Jake decided. Send a message to all human ships in this sector. We're conducting extended patrol operations in the Meridian system. Purely routine, of course. Make sure we're in position if something happens. And if the Council objects? Amy asked. Then we'll apologize and move, Jake said. But if the Kralon attack while we're there, we'll have a split second to decide whether saving lives is worth risking our trial period. The human fleet moved quietly toward Meridian 5 over the next day. They maintained all proper communication protocols, filed all required flight plans, and stayed just barely within the boundaries of their authorized patrol zones. To anyone watching, it looked routine, but Jake made sure his ships were positioned perfectly to respond if the Kralon attacked. Meridian 5 was a beautiful world, mostly ocean with scattered island continents. It was home to about 6 million people from various species, mostly civilians working in trade and agriculture. The Planetary Defense Force was small, equipped for dealing with pirates and smugglers, not a major military invasion. Commander Sark was in charge of the Council Defense Fleet in this sector. His 20 ships were older models, designed more for showing presence than fighting battles. When he received word that the human fleet had moved into his area, he contacted Jake immediately. Commander Morrison, what are you doing here? Sark asked, his golden eyes showing suspicion. Routine patrol, Jake replied calmly. We're authorized to operate in this general area, just doing our job. You just happen to be patrolling near Meridian 5 at the exact time intelligence reports suggest Kralon activity in this sector? Odd coincidence, isn't it? Jake said with a slight smile. But since we're here, we might as well coordinate. If anything does happen, we should have a joint response plan ready. Sark stared at him for a moment, then his expression changed to something that might have been respect. You humans are devious. You know the Kralon are coming, don't you? We think there's a strong possibility, Jake admitted. But the Council doesn't agree with our assessment, so we're just being cautious. By positioning your entire available fleet in this system, Sark said. I should report this. You should, Jake agreed. But maybe wait a few hours. See if we're right first. Sark was silent for a moment. If you're wrong, you're going to look foolish. If you're right and you're here without proper authorization, the Council could use it as grounds to revoke your trial period. We know, Jake said, but we also know that we'd rather face consequences for being prepared than live with the guilt of doing nothing while people died. 18 hours later, the Kralon fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the Meridian system. 80 warships, all heavily armed and moving in coordinated formation toward Meridian 5. It was the largest military force seen in Council space in over a century. Sark's message reached the Council within seconds, but Jake knew it would take hours for the Council to debate and authorize a response. By then, the Kralon would be bombarding the planet. Commander Sark, we're reading 80 hostile vessels entering the system, Jake said over the open channel. Request permission to assist in the defense of Meridian 5. Sark looked at his own tactical displays. His 20 ships against 80. They would be destroyed within minutes. But if the humans helped, they might have a chance. Permission granted, Sark said. All ships form up with the human fleet. We're going to show these Kralon that they picked the wrong system to invade. The combined fleet moved to intercept the Kralon. 20 alien ships and 22 human vessels against 80 invaders. The odds were terrible, but Jake had a plan. They're expecting us to form a defensive line, he told his fleet commanders. Standard tactics, ship-to-ship combat. We're not going to do that. We're going to do what humans do best. We're going to fight dirty. The human ships scattered into multiple groups, each one taking a different vector toward the enemy. The Kralon fleet tried to maintain formation, but the humans refused to fight a conventional battle. They hit fast, fired, and withdrew before the Kralon could focus their response. The Valiant led a group of 5 ships directly at the Kralon flagship. The enemy concentrated fire on them, but the human shields held. At the last moment, the human ships broke formation and swept past the Kralon lines, their weapons tearing into the enemy ships from unexpected angles. Sark and his fleet used the distraction to strike at the Krelin formation from another direction. Together, the humans and council forces created chaos in the enemy ranks. The Krelin had expected an easy victory against a small defense force. They hadn't prepared for this kind of combat, but the numbers were still against them. Even with superior tactics, the combined fleet was taking damage. 2 of Sark's ships were destroyed. 3 human vessels were heavily damaged and had to withdraw. Jake watched the tactical display, calculating odds and options. They needed to break the Krelin formation completely, make them retreat. But how? Target their command ship, Jake ordered. All available vessels concentrate fire on that flagship. If we take out their commander, the rest might lose coordination. It was risky. Concentrating fire meant bunching up, making themselves easier targets. But it might work. The human and council ships formed a tight formation and drove straight at the Krelin flagship. The enemy fired everything they had, and 2 more ships were destroyed. But the combined firepower of the Allied fleet was overwhelming. The Krelin flagship's shields failed, and then its hull was breached. The massive ship began to break apart. For a moment, the battle hung in balance. Then the Krelin fleet began to retreat. Without their commander, without the easy victory they had expected, they had lost their will to fight. 80 ships became 70, then 60 as some vessels were too damaged to escape. The survivors jumped to hyperspace and fled. The defense of Part 6. The emergency session of the Galactic Council convened within hours of the battle's end. Jake stood once again in the center of the Great Chamber, but this time the atmosphere was different. Some representatives looked grateful, others angry, and a few seemed confused about how to feel. High Chancellor Vorn spoke first, his bioluminescent patterns pulsing rapidly, a sign of agitation. Commander Morrison, you deployed your fleet to Meridian 5 without authorization. This is a direct violation of your trial agreement. We saved Meridian 5, Jake replied calmly. 6 million people are alive because we were there. Would you rather we had followed procedure and let them die? Ambassador Trell stood, his forearms gesturing sharply. This is exactly the behavior we feared. Humans taking unilateral action, ignoring established authority, doing whatever they think is right without consultation. You may have saved lives today, but you've proven you cannot be trusted to follow rules. With respect, Ambassador, Jake said, keeping his tone even. We reported the Krelin threat 3 times before they attacked. Earth Defense Command sent detailed intelligence to the Council. We were ignored. When faced with a choice between following rules that would result in mass casualties and breaking those rules to save lives, we chose to save lives. I would make that choice again. Commander Sark stood from his seat. Several representatives turned to look at him in surprise. I wish to speak, Chancellor. The floor recognizes Commander Sark, Vorn said. The humans saved my fleet, Sark said bluntly. My 20 ships against 80 Krelin warships would have been destroyed in minutes. Meridian 5 would have been bombarded and occupied. The Krelin would have established a permanent foothold in Council space. All of this would have happened because the Council chose not to believe the intelligence warnings we received. The humans manipulated the situation, Trell argued. They positioned themselves to be heroes. They positioned themselves to respond to a threat, Sark corrected. A threat that was real, as we now know. I fought beside them in that battle. I saw their tactics, their courage, their willingness to sacrifice themselves for a world that wasn't even their own. The humans are not the monsters we feared. They are warriors, yes, but they are warriors who fight for the right reasons. Elder Mora's gentle voice filled the chamber. Commander Morrison, why did you risk so much? You knew helping without authorization could end your trial period. Why not simply protect your own interests and let us face the consequences of our mistakes? Jake took a moment to consider his answer. Because that's not who we are. Yes, we're from a death world. Yes, we fought wars and built weapons. But we're also the species that runs into burning buildings to save strangers. We're the people who dive into freezing water to rescue someone who's drowning. We're the ones who stand between the innocent and danger. Even when it costs us everything. That's what being human means. We don't always follow the rules, but we always try to do what's right. The chamber was silent. Jake's words hung in the air, and for the first time, many of the representatives seemed to truly see humans as more than just dangerous predators. Ambassador Kira stood, her silver skin reflecting the chamber's lights. I have been observing humanity since they arrived. I have read their literature, studied their history, and spoken with their representatives. Commander Morrison speaks the truth. Humans are not perfect. They are aggressive, stubborn, and sometimes reckless. But they are also brave, compassionate, and willing to sacrifice for others. The Kraylan Empire is not going to stop with this one defeat. They will return stronger and more prepared. And when they do, we will need allies who know how to fight, not just talk about peace. So we should excuse their violation of the agreement? Trell asked. I propose we amend the agreement, Kira replied. The current restrictions were based on fear, not practical necessity. The humans have proven they can work with our forces effectively. Commander Sark and Commander Morrison coordinated perfectly in battle. Perhaps instead of limiting humanity's military deployment, we should integrate them into our defense structure. The debate that followed lasted for hours. Various representatives argued different positions. Some wanted humanity expelled from the council immediately. Others wanted the trial period extended. A few, including Kira, wanted to grant humans full membership ahead of schedule. Finally, after much discussion, Vorn called for a vote. The proposal was simple. Grant humanity full provisional membership with expanded rights and responsibilities. In exchange, the human fleet would become part of the Galactic Defense Force, working alongside Council vessels to protect all member worlds. The vote was closer than the first one had been, but it passed. Humanity would remain part of the galactic community, with new rights and new duties. Jake felt relief wash over him. They had gambled and won, but Vorn wasn't finished speaking. There is one more matter to discuss, the Chancellor said. We need to address the Kraylan threat. They have launched an unprovoked attack on Council space. We must respond. With what? One representative asked. We've been at peace for so long that most of our member worlds don't even maintain proper military forces. The Kraylan have been preparing for war while we've been holding debates. Then we need to prepare now, Kira said. And we need to learn from those who know how to fight. I propose that Commander Morrison be appointed as a special military advisor to the Council. Let the humans help train our forces, share their tactical knowledge, prepare us for the conflicts that are coming. More debate followed, but the logic was sound. The Council needed military expertise and humanity had it. The appointment was approved, though some representatives voted against it with clear reluctance. After the session ended, Jake found himself surrounded by various ambassadors and military officers. Some wanted to discuss defense strategies. Others wanted to learn more about human combat tactics. A few simply wanted to talk with a human face-to-face, their curiosity overcoming their fear. Commander Sark approached Jake with what might have been a smile on his reptilian face. You've changed things, Morrison. For better or worse, the galaxy will never be the same. We didn't mean to cause such upheaval, Jake said. We just wanted a chance. You got more than a chance, Sark replied. You got responsibility. The Council is going to expect humanity to help defend it now. That means human lives on the line for worlds you've never seen, people you've never met. We know, Jake said. But that's okay. Defending others is something humans understand. Over the following weeks, the human fleet expanded its role in galactic defense. Human officers trained Council crews in combat tactics. Human engineers shared defensive technologies. Human strategists helped plan responses to future Kraylan threats. Back on Earth, the news was celebrated. Humanity had not only earned its place among the stars, but had become essential to galactic defense. Schools taught alien languages. Businesses prepared for interstellar trade. Young people dreamed of exploring distant worlds. Colonel Lisa Grant continued running intelligence operations, now with full cooperation from Council security services. She tracked Kraylan movements, identified potential threats, and coordinated response plans. Her network of informants grew to include aliens from dozens of species, all working together to keep the peace. Helen Brooks and the other independent human traders who had been living in alien space finally came out of hiding. They were welcomed as pioneers who had paved the way for human integration. Their experiences living among aliens became valuable lessons for other humans preparing to venture into the galaxy. On the Valiant, Jake stood on the observation deck and looked out at Kelmar Prime. The planet glowed below. A symbol of the galactic civilization humanity had finally joined. Behind him, crew members from 3 different species worked together at various stations. Human, Vaxian, and Zenith, all part of the same team. Amy joined him at the window. Hard to believe this is real sometimes. I know what you mean, Jake replied. 6 months ago, we were breaking through a blockade, not sure if we'd be met with diplomacy or weapons. Now we're training alien crews and planning joint defense operations. Do you think it'll last? Amy asked. The peace between us and them? Jake considered the question. Honestly, I think we'll have problems. Cultural misunderstandings, political disagreements, maybe even small conflicts. We're too different for everything to be smooth. But I also think we'll work through those problems. The galaxy needed us and we needed them. That's a good foundation. The Kraylan won't give up, Amy said. They'll be back and they'll bring more ships next time. Let them come, Jake said with confidence. They've never faced a united defense before. They've never fought against humans and council forces working together. They're going to learn what the rest of the galaxy is learning. Humans might be from a death world, but we don't face death alone anymore. We've got allies now. News reached the Valiant later that day that more Kraylan fleet movements had been detected. The Empire was indeed preparing for another offensive, this time with over 200 ships. It would be the largest military operation in galactic history. The Council issued an emergency call for all defense forces to mobilize. Human ships began moving into position alongside vessels from 40 different species. It would be the first true test of the new